The theme for this forum is economic and community development. We had an awesome speaker this morning. We're so glad that Ms. Donna Isaacs was here to share information with us about green economic development. Our next speaker is going to be Ms. Heather Malone. She is here representing Mayor Copeland from Vidalia. Heather is the Director of Concordia Economic and Industrial Development. Please join me in welcoming Heather.
Good morning. I hope I'm not disappointing by being here instead of Mayor Copeland. There's no way I could ever fill his shoes. He's known for all of his great accomplishments for Vidalia, Louisiana. It's been told many times that if Hiram Copeland wanted the Mississippi River to flow north, that it would happen. So I'm pleased to help him in his efforts with Vidalia, Louisiana, and in supporting Concordia Parish and moving the efforts of the whole parish forward. I grew up in Concordia Parish and graduated from high school in Vidalia, and whenever I graduated, I was like, I cannot wait to get out of this town. So I went to Louisiana Tech and graduated in 2004 with a master's degree. And when I left there, I said, I can't wait to get out of this state. So I moved to South Carolina and I worked for a county economic development organization there. And about 4 years later, I said, I can't wait to go back home and be closer to my family. So I've gone away and I've come back, and I'm glad to be back and be instrumental in some of the great things that are happening in Concordia Parish. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And I want to thank Jim too for inviting us here today. And I said that I hope that I don't let him down, because he's talked so positively about our community, and I just want to make sure that I tell you everything that there is to know about Vidalia and Concordia Parish. Concordia Parish is made up of 4 different municipalities: Clayton, Fairdale, Ridgecrest, and Vidalia. How many of you have been through Concordia Parish or have visited there? Great. After I was looking through, I said maybe I should have put a map, but if you know where Natchez, Mississippi is, we're right across the river, and that would be Vidalia. Vidalia is our largest municipality in the parish. They're very progressive. And I will say that all of our mayors are very progressive towards economic development. It's great to work with them. Concordia Economic and Industrial Development District is a political subdivision of the state. Our legislation reads that the mayors of each municipality and the president of the police jury must sit on our board, along with 3 at-large business members, one of those being from the unincorporated area of Monterey. I won't ask any of you if you've ever been there. So we are made up of both public and private members on our board, and we make decisions on how we think that our community should grow and prosper in the terms of economic development. Our population in Concordia Parish is just a little over 20,000. Within a 30-mile radius, we have about just shy of 175,000, and then in a 60-mile radius, we're just a little above 1 million. So we really hang on to that regionalism effort, because we know we're a very small fish, but if we can attach ourselves to others around us, we have a larger market to go after. I always say that we're on the way to everywhere, because we're less than 120 miles from Alexandria, from Baton Rouge, from Monroe, from Jackson, and only about 170 miles from New Orleans. So we're kind of on the path to everywhere, but what we're trying to do is to get people to stop. What our organization does, in a nutshell, is we assist local governments with their community and economic development efforts. We promote the product that they have available, and with product I mean their sites and buildings and all things associated with that. We advocate for businesses, both new and existing business, and we serve as a liaison between our business community and our local government. So if a new business is coming to town and there's permitting and all types of red tape that they have to go through, we help navigate them through that process. I'm going to go over a general overview of community and economic development before I get into some of the specifics of what we're doing in Concordia Parish. This is kind of the chicken or the egg thing. You can't have one without the other, but you have to start somewhere in the cycle. I always like to start with community development, and the way that I explain this is that you have to prepare and plan for your company to come to your house before you actually invite them and bring them to your house. So you're going to clean up and you're going to make sure that everything's pristine and looks nice and smells good in your house before you invite your visitors over to have dinner with them or whatever it is that you're going to do. So to me, community development is preparing your place, your quality of place, so whenever you invite your company over, they understand what you have to offer, it looks good, and they're ready to do business in your place. Some examples of community development, and because they overlap, it's hard to draw a line between what's community development and what's economic development. I get told all the time, well, you should really be involved in this because it does relate to economic development, and I want to say everything relates to economic development. Housing, recreation, education, crime, diversity, healthcare, all of that, if all of those things aren't going well, it's going to affect your economic development. So, but I tag these things as being community development more so than economic development. So with housing, you want to make sure that you have available housing and affordable housing for your workforce. You want to have different types of housing for them to choose from. You have to think about if a new business is constructing in your area, do you have short-term housing for them, apartments, even mobile home or RV places. You just have to make sure that you have those things available so when, again, your company comes to town, you're ready to do business with them. Recreation. You need recreation for your kids. You need recreation for every age group. You know, in our area, it's always been focused on baseball and softball. We're starting to add soccer. We're starting to add some trails for my age group and older. There's spray parks. There's tennis. We're starting to add more diverse options for recreation, and then what that will bring too, because, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later, what Vidalia is doing is they're creating a sports complex where they can recruit tournaments for tennis and baseball and softball to the area. Well, whenever you have those tournaments come in, you're going to have an increased need for hotels, you're going to have an increased need for restaurants, sporting goods stores, gas stations, convenience stores, and the list goes on, and that creates wealth for your community. Education, you want to make sure that you have an employable population. You want to make sure that they have at least a high school degree and some sort of technical education. And you want to make sure that they're educated towards the types of businesses that you're recruiting to come to your area. So you want to create that quality workforce that can be productive for business. Also, whenever people come in to move into your community, they want to know what your K through 12 options are. I'm proud to say that in Concordia Parish we do not have a single private school. The reason why I'm proud of that is because people aren't having to pay for their kids' education. Those dollars they can save and put through the community and other things and not make it go towards that K through 12 education. Our public school system is very good. One of our schools in Vidalia actually received the Blue Ribbon Award. We're very proud of that. And the school system this past year started a magnet school, which is huge for our small community. There's also a charter school that's going to be opening next year, so that gives parents options that they didn't have before without having to pay for that private education. We have a wonderful technical and community college right in our parish that helps us with workforce development all the time. And then we have a university just across the river, and then we have several universities such as your own that are within two hours from us, so we're very lucky. Crime rate. This is a huge thing with community development. One of our municipalities, unfortunately, has a bad rap for having a high crime rate. And when I go to my existing business meetings, I had one company that said, well, we decided to start leaving our company trucks unlocked because we got tired of having to replace windows from people breaking into the windows, breaking into our vehicles. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So we, being the liaison between business and government, went to that mayor and said, something's got to give here. Either we need increased security in the industrial park, or we need something so this business feels safe doing what they need to do in your area. So you've got to make sure that your crime rate is at a nice level before you want to, again, bring somebody into your home. Healthcare. Again, if you have poor health care in your community, those employees, they're going to miss work more. Your company's not going to be as productive. Their health care claims are going to be more expensive, so that's more expense on your business. So we want to make sure that our health care needs are met. And then diversity. You know, if you're bringing a company in that has, you know, say engineering may be a type or a sector that you have increased employment, and you may have other nationalities coming in for those positions. Well, you want to make sure that there's another population or enough population of that particular nationality, or that you're a diverse enough population so they feel comfortable living in your area. Do you have the type of food that they like to eat? Do you have the type of arts and music that people like to hear? What about young versus old? That's one of the areas that we're really concentrating in our community, is bringing the young people back, because you know they leave to go to college and then they don't come back because our opportunities have been low. So we're really working towards bringing those job opportunities up so we have a young workforce again, so young people want to come back to our area and raise their children here. Next is economic development, infrastructure development. That's key. It's always been, if you don't have water, sewer, electricity, well, of course, the company's not going to look at you. Well, now it's becoming, if you don't have broadband technology or some sort of high-speed internet, they're not going to look at you either. I mean, it's a given that you have to have that in your community in order to prosper. Vidalia, that's another initiative that they're working on that I'll speak more on in a bit. But you've got to have that basic infrastructure to be attractive to a community. Also, your transportation infrastructure. Do you have adequate roads? Do you have alternate transportation, railroads, interstate, port? Do you have those things to make business more productive in your area? Business retention and expansion, BR&E. We have a program where we go to visit our existing businesses, because the majority of job growth in our area, and I know across the nation, is based on existing business. If you know our existing businesses, as they are more productive, they're going to add more jobs, and it may only be 2 or 3 at a time, but that adds up more than that big win that you get with a new recruit. So we really focus on making sure our existing businesses are happy and healthy and productive. Also, when you do have that big business that you're recruiting to the area, you can call on that existing business and say, help us recruit this company. Tell them what it's like to do business here, the pros and the cons, and hopefully you'll get more pros than cons. We may not ask that company that their windows get broken into all the time to do that for us. So you want to make sure that they're happy and that you're doing everything to make them productive. Zoning. In our municipalities, we do this well, but not in our unincorporated areas. You want to make sure that your industrial and commercial sites are properly zoned in the right locations, because would any of you want a chicken plant housed next to your neighborhood? I wouldn't. It smells, it's loud, it has all these issues. So if you zone properly and you know this is the area that you're going to have industrial and this is the area you're going to have residential and so on and so forth, you don't have to worry about those things. And I promise you that chicken plant's not going to want to locate next to a residential area either, because they're going to get complaints and calls all the time, and that's not something that they want to deal with. They want to do business. Available sites and buildings. You have to make sure that you have a product to market. If you don't have a site that you can locate a business to, then what's your purpose? So if there's not one in your area, you have to, again, work with your local governments to either identify a site and work with whoever the private owner is, or if the public entity owns it, and move forward and make sure that it has the proper infrastructure and that you can properly market that area or advertise that area. Again, workforce development. As I said before, you just have to have a ready workforce for whenever that company comes, that you can put those people to work and show the company that you do have people available to work. Concordia Parish, unfortunately, has a high unemployment rate, but we're able to turn that around when we're recruiting a company to say, you know, we have these people ready and willing and able to work if you locate here. We have somebody ready to work for you. And this is a very convoluted little diagram, and I had way more arrows, but then I got confused. So I'm going to start, and this is kind of the circle that community and economic development go in. Our goal with economic development is to create wealth for a community. So I'm going to start with improve your quality of place. And like I said before, it's kind of the chicken or the egg, which one comes first. But whenever, you know, I'm sure you've heard your grandparents say before who had fallen on hard times that, you know, we may be poor, but we're not dirty. So you're always, whatever you have, you're going to make sure it's clean and neat and that you're presenting it well, regardless of what you have. So, you know, you may have a dirt floor, but you're going to have it as clean as you can possibly get it. So that's where I think that you've got to start with improving your quality of place. So whatever you do have, polish it and make it shine as best as you can, and show it off and make sure that everybody sees the positives that are out there to see with whatever you have, and develop that product. Well, with that, you can actually recruit your business and then bring them into your area. Whenever they locate there, of course, they're going to create jobs, and whenever they create jobs, and that business is going to have supporting businesses that have to help to support them, so that will help spur your existing business growth and potential new businesses to open. They're going to create jobs too. Your unemployment rate's going to lower. You're going to have an increased population. No doubt you're going to try to employ the people who are there, but you are no doubt going to have others that come into your area to take on new jobs. So then you'll have more disposable income because everybody will have it, well, not everybody, but you'll have more jobs available. They'll have money to spend. You'll have more people there that will have more money to spend. So then your tax revenues increase, property tax, sales tax, because people are able to buy more. They're going to be able to buy a house and buy other products. So your property taxes and sales tax will increase. That goes, of course, to the local government, so your public services are going to improve. So you're going to have more money to spend towards recreation, more money to improve your public infrastructure, more money to improve those products, those sites and buildings. So again, you're improving your quality of place again and developing your product again, and the cycle just goes on and on. So when I first moved back home, you know, no one really understands what economic developers do. And it's kind of hard to explain, but I got a lot when I came back home. They said, "Will you bring a target?" I'm like, well, number one, most retail boxes, especially that large, they're going to look at the population that they can serve. And I said, the population that they serve. Our population is not big enough. Even if you throw Natchez in there, we're still not big enough for a target. So what we can do is try to recruit some of these industrial type businesses, your manufacturers, your distribution centers, things like that, that will again create more business, bring more people, increase your population, increase your disposable income. Then things like those retail sector, those restaurants, you know, all those other things will start to pop up. You'll see an increase in professional services, more architects, more engineers, because you're going to have more building going on. So it just it has to start with some of that industrial growth before you can start to spur those other fun type businesses. Okay. So some of the local initiatives that we're working on, as I said before, regionalism has become a huge initiative for our area because we are so small. We look at what's north of us, what's west of us, what's east of us, and what's south of us to determine what our target markets are and who we want to go after. We have identified our target markets as, of course, oil and gas industry. Tourism is a big target market for us. Agriculture is a huge market for us. And then auto, because just north of us in northeast Louisiana, there's a mega site that they've identified for an auto manufacturing plant. So if they're successful in bringing a plant to that location, we're less than an hour from that. So we would definitely see some supporting businesses to feed into that company. So we look at all of those industries and try to prepare, again, our workforce and our sites and buildings to be able to accommodate those major industries. We have reached across the river into Mississippi and Natchez, Adams County, to create a Miss Lou Alliance. We recognize that no one sees that state line or those local lines except for our politicians. We recognize that all of the citizens in our area cross that bridge at least twice a day. We live together, we work together, we play together. So there's no reason that we shouldn't join forces with economic and community development. Just as I said this morning, if you go out of town and nobody knows where Vidalia, Louisiana is, you say, well, do you know where Natchez is? And they say yes, and we say we're right across the river. So we always have used Natchez as an identifier, so there's no reason to stop doing that now. So we've been talking across the river, we've been sharing resources, and we've decided that it's time for us to advertise ourselves as one instead of as two, because we have more to offer. If you look at just one side of the river, we have a short list of things that we can offer. But if you look at both sides of the river, our list gets much longer and we have more available to our businesses and new prospects. So that's one of our big initiatives that we've been working on. Healthcare. Vidalia especially has really grown in the healthcare industry. That's probably been the fastest growing area for them. Natchez has always kind of been the healthcare hub in our area, but whenever the Vidalia riverfront developed, we saw many medical complexes popping up on the Louisiana side. And it was based on some legislative issues that were in Mississippi that Louisiana didn't have. So we were able to gain some things that Natchez lost, which in the grand scheme of things is not a big win for our area regionally, but again for the state and for our local Vidalia area, it was a win. That increased again our professional population with nurses and doctors and office staff in the healthcare industry. Infrastructure development. Vidalia's been working on a port on the Mississippi River for, it's probably been a good 15 years, I would say. We are now in a position where we are, we've already begun construction, and we are probably within the next year we'll have the port developed to where we can operate, or where business can operate. One thing that's unique about our area is we do have a major 4-lane highway that comes right through. Highway 84, also the El Camino Corridor that Natchez is also a part of. But we do not have rail, we do not have an interstate, we only have that 4-lane highway. So again, if you don't have that proper transportation corridor to get product in and out of your area, it's hard for business to be productive, and they're looking at that bottom line. So the port was our only other transportation option other than a 4-lane highway, and we recognize the Mississippi River as our interstate. Commerce flows up and down that river all day long, and we sit there and watch it, and we're just now taking advantage of that very valuable resource. It goes all the way to the Gulf and then everywhere in the world, so there's no reason why we shouldn't be using that to get our product in and out. So again, Mayor Hiram Copeland is definitely a visionary, but more so than that, he's able to get things done and implement these things. So this was one of his big projects that we're finally at a point where we're going to be able to push it through and get it started. So we're very happy about that, and it's also attached to the Vidalia Industrial Park. The El Camino Corridor that I mentioned is a 5-state initiative that we've been working with. It goes from Georgia all the way to Texas. Unfortunately, Louisiana, as a lot of times we're coming in last on productivity with getting this 4-lane completed. Georgia is complete. Alabama is probably about 80–85%. Mississippi is 99%. Louisiana, I believe, is a whopping 20%. And Texas is about, I think, 65%. Texas has said, we're not going any further until Louisiana does something else, because why would we build a 4-lane to a 2-lane? So if it's going to bottleneck there, there's no reason for us to keep investing. So we've really been pushing and trying to get funding to get this completed, because what it will do, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, most of it is Highway 84, but it's obviously an east-west corridor. We're wanting to 4-lane it, not only for scenic purposes, but also to open up commercial development for these smaller towns. The interstate killed many towns whenever it came through. What this will do will open up commerce again for these areas and give them more opportunity to do business. So that's what we're hoping for. It's, a lot of people have dismissed it because they say it's a scenic tourism thing, but it's not. It's really an economic development corridor. Then Broadband Technology. This is another initiative of the town of Vidalia. Vidalia happens to own their own utility system, which is very unique, especially in a small town. They were fortunate enough, again, Mayor Copeland was a part of this. They did a $500+ million project on the hydroelectric plant, which we used river water to generate electricity, about 192 megawatts. And the town is in an agreement with this corporation. The town receives a certain percentage of electricity from that, and they also receive royalties from the sale of electricity. So that allows them to do a lot of different things. Their infrastructure and their utility lines, all of that is top class. They use a cyclical approach to improvements. They start at one end of town and they'll improve and then go all the way around, and by the time they get back they improve again. So they are always on top of their utilities and have the best that they can possibly offer. The broadband initiative would be actually an improvement to their utility system. What they're going to use it for is use that capability or that technology to read their meters at each home and each business. So they're going to lay the infrastructure to each home and business. Then they're going to discuss with the internet providers, so like your AT&T or whomever your provider is, to see if they want to lease that infrastructure from the city. And in turn, the end user, which would be the resident or the business, would get a discounted rate because the city had already run the infrastructure and invested in that piece of the project. So one, it'll upgrade their utility system. It'll make it easier to read their meters and do their billing. And then two, it provides a service to the resident and to the business at a discounted price. So they looked at many different models, and I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the model in Lafayette, where Lafayette actually owns their own internet phone cable system. The town didn't want to own any of that. They just wanted to make sure the infrastructure was there so they could do what they wanted to do, and in the meantime help the resident out too. So we are in the process of trying to identify the closest access point to us, which is in Natchez, Mississippi. So we're trying to get a pipe run under the bridge to where we can run those cables through there to get it to a central point in the town. And then they're going to loop it around town and do a clover approach to connect every business and resident to this broadband infrastructure. So we are, of course, looking at grants, which again, Mayor Copeland is the #1 grant master of the universe. I think he's able to get any and every grant. We are looking at grants, and they are fewer and far between this day and time, but and trying to get some help in bringing this infrastructure to the area. But like I said before, this is something that businesses expect for you to have now. They're not saying, oh, it'd be great if you had it. They expect you to have it just like they expect you to have water and sewer. So This will also allow us to develop some small business and entrepreneurship programs. One that we've been working with Louisiana Delta Initiative on is called From Bricks to Clicks, where you're going from bricks and mortar business to online type businesses. Even if you keep your storefront, just showing you how to develop your business online and sell product online. Education, K through 12, I mentioned the magnet school and the charter school. Concordia Economic Development also assists the school board with what's called a choices program, where we go into the 8th grade classes and we talk to the children about choices that they have in life, and it's mainly geared towards reducing the dropout rate, because again, if you don't have that qualified workforce in your area, then you're not going anywhere. So I think I'm going to run through the rest of these real fast. We've talked about workforce development, small business development. One thing again that Vidalia is doing is they're talking with the Small Business Development Center here, and they are wanting to do a business incubator geared towards technology in their old City Hall building that's vacant, and then also they're wanting to do work with Northwestern State University and doing online classes for not only high school students and allowing them to stay at home and take classes, but others for continuing education. We talked about recreation and the tournaments and the possibilities that come from that. Site certification is more something that the state is prompting economic development organizations to do, making sure their sites are certified so they're shovel ready. So whenever a business comes, they can say, okay, I want to be up and running in 18 months, and your site's ready to do that. Downtown revitalization. The town of Vidalia did a master plan that recognized an historic area that they're revitalizing, and also has a trails program that goes throughout the town along with the riverfront. And then the town of Fairdale also has a downtown revitalization area that they're trying to develop to kind of jumpstart their area a little more too. And then Neighborhood Watch, my example I gave before, we were helping a municipality get that started so they can improve that crime rate. So again, that will be more attractive to business. And these are quickly just some of the sites that we have in Concordia Parish. This is Panola Park. It's a private industrial site. It's about 520 acres. It's located just right outside of Fairdale town limits. It's available for commercial and industrial properties, and it's on Highway 425, just about a mile away from Highway 84. This is the Fairdale Industrial Park. We do, it's built out, but we do have an available building there, and we actually have a prospect looking at it right now. And it's about a 16,000 square foot building that was known as the Kelly's Kids Building. Whenever they first started, they were located in this building. Whitehall Plantation, this is another private site. It's about 1,260 acres of agricultural land right on the Mississippi River, and right adjacent to the Vidalia Industrial Park right here. It's just about 2 miles south of Vidalia, and it's for sale for $12.6 million. Vidalia Industrial Park and Port, this is a public industrial park. Again, this is Vidalia Industrial Park, and this is the Whitehall Plantation over here. And this is Highway 131 right here, and this is the road we've built to the port, and this is the river right over here. So it will, we already have a business right here. We've sold this piece of property to a company that should be beginning construction anytime now, and we're talking to a prospect right now to locate right here. So, and this is the port, a better layout of the port. This is the highway, and of course the river, and the port will be dug out here, and it will be a slack water port. So barges can come in off the river, get out of the current, come in, load, unload, and then come back out like this. And the Vidalia Industrial Park is about 240 acres total. And they have an option right here of another 200 acres, but the other 1,260, of course, is available for them to add on to. So quickly, how can you help your community? Speak positively about your community, the one you live in now and the one that you come from. The more that we speak about our area and that we're proud to be from our area, the more others will want to come there too. We had a kid that he's attending Mississippi State right now, and he actually brought us a prospect to locate in that Kelly's Kids building. So you can do it just as well as I can do it, and I encourage you to. And then on the flip side of that, if you speak negatively, others are going to hear that and it's going to reflect poorly on your area. So I encourage you to always talk positively about your area. So, sorry I ran so long.
Okay. Do we have any questions? We have some questions for Heather.
How far off of Highway 84 is the access road to the school?
It's probably about 3 miles from Highway 84.
131?
On 131.
So what is the timetable for getting the work?
We should be operational in 14 to 18 months. So.
Anybody else have a question?
I have one question back here.
Question back here.
Do you ever get involved in any kind of exotic financing, like industrial development bonds or incremental financing?
We haven't since I've been on board. We've talked about the TIF program in our area because we know that commercial development is probably about to bust on Highway 84 especially. So we have been talking to our municipalities about getting some particular areas in legislation, so we would have that as an option. But right now we don't have any areas designated for TIF. And we haven't done an industrial revenue bond since I've been on board. So.
Anybody else have a question for Heather? Well, we really appreciate Heather coming. Would you please give her a round